Somewhere in your home, your hard drive, your mind, there is a graveyard. Walk it with me because you know every headstone, the novel that stopped at chapter 4. The business idea with the half-built website. The course paid for, abandoned at module 3. The instrument in the closet, the half-learned language, the renovation that reached 90% and lives there still. Nobody plans this graveyard. It accumulates quietly project by project, year by year, until one day you notice the pattern behind all the individual stories. It was never really about that book, that business, that skill. You have a finishing problem. Almost everyone does. And tonight is about why, and about what waits on the other side for the rare person who solves it. Start with the honest anatomy of how things die, because they die at a predictable place. Nothing dies at the beginning. Beginnings are glorious. New projects arrive with a dopamine escort, fresh vision, fast progress, the intoxicating feeling of becoming someone new. And nothing dies within sight of the end either. When the finish line is visible, energy surges to meet it. Things die in the middle. The long, foggy, unglamorous middle, where novelty is dead, the finish is invisible, progress has slowed to a crawl, and the actual dimensions of the work have finally revealed themselves. There's a name for it among people who make things. The messy middle, the dip, the valley, every finisher knows the terrain. And it's precisely there in the valley that a seductive visitor always arrives, right on schedule, the new idea. Shinier than the current one. Unburdened by the current one's compromises and discovered difficulties. Whispering the oldest lie in the creative world. The problem isn't the middle, the problem is this project. Start me instead. And so the half-built thing joins the graveyard, the new thing gets its glorious beginning, and 18 months later the visitor arrives again, same whisper, new grave. It was never the projects. It's the pattern, a life spent harvesting the cheap thrill of starting while forfeiting, every single time, the entire actual payoff, because in almost every field that matters, 100% of the value is on the far side of done. The 90% novel sells 0 copies. The almost launched business serves no one. Half finished is not half the reward. In the currency the world pays out, half finished and never started are, with brutal exactness, worth the same. But the outer cost isn't even the deep one. Here's what the graveyard is really doing to you. Every abandoned project is testimony. Quietly, each headstone teaches you something about yourself. My commitments have an expiration date. My word to myself is provisional. When it gets hard, I leave. Stack up enough testimony and it hardens into identity, and identity into prophecy. You start hedging at the starting line. We'll see how it goes, because some part of you already knows how it goes. The tragedy of the chronic starter isn't the lost projects. It's the erosion of self-trust, the slow-growing certainty that your own commitments are written in pencil. And this is exactly why the fix matters more than any single finished thing, because finishing, it turns out, is not a project skill. It's an identity. The person who has finished hard things knows something about themselves that cannot be faked or affirmed into existence. It can only be earned through the archive of completions. And that knowledge changes the way they start things, carry things, and speak about their own future. Finishers walk differently. They have receipts. So let's rebuild you into one. 5 tools, each one aimed at a specific place where projects die. First, finish the definition before you start. An astonishing share of unfinished projects were never finishable. They had no defined end. Learn guitar, get in shape, work on the book. These aren't projects, they're directions, and you cannot complete a direction, only abandon it. So convert, not learn guitar, but play these 3 songs cleanly, recorded as proof. Not work on the book, but a complete 60,000-word draft, a bad one counts. Define, done so concretely that a stranger could verify it. This single act, done in 10 minutes before you begin, eliminates the whole category of projects that die because nobody ever decided what finished meant. Second, shrink the scope savagely and defend the shrunken version like territory. The chronic starter's beginnings are grandiose, the epic novel, the total transformation, the business empire, and grandiosity is alone, the middle always calls in. The professional secret is the opposite, version 1, embarrassingly small, actually completed. The short story finished outranks the epic abandoned, not slightly, infinitely, because one exists. And when the middle arrives and the urge comes to add features, expand chapters, upgrade the vision, recognize scope creep for what it so often secretly is, procrastination dressed as ambition, moving the finish line to postpone the exposure of finishing. Shrink it. Zip it. Version 2 is a privilege reserved for people who finished version 1. Third, quarantine the new ideas, don't fight them. The shiny visitor in the valley cannot be banished. Imagination doesn't have an off switch, and thank goodness. But it can be redirected. Keep a file, call it the someday list, and when the brilliant new idea arrives mid-project, honor it fully. Write it down in loving detail, promise it fair consideration. After the current thing is done. This works for a reason. The new idea's real function, remember, was escape. Written down, it loses its urgency but keeps its value, and a strange thing happens when you finally reread the list from the far side of a finished project. Most of the can't-miss ideas have visibly wilted, and you'll see them for what they were, anesthetic for the middle. The rare one's still glowing. That's a real one. It earned its beginning, and now you're a finisher, so it will get an ending too. Fourth, when you're lost in the middle, stop looking at the mountain, count steps. The valley's despair is a resolution problem. The whole remaining book is unliftable. Today's 500 words are trivial. So build the only dashboard that matters in the fog. The chain of small, done units, words logged, sessions completed, modules cleared. Progress you can see daily is oxygen in the middle. This is why every long-haul profession invents its own version of the chain, the streak, the log. And pair it with a deadline that has teeth, told to someone whose opinion you value, tied to a date, ideally with a real cost for missing. Self-imposed, secret deadlines are suggestions, witnessed ones are structures. The middle is survivable with structure. It's fatal only in the dark, alone, staring at the whole mountain. Fifth, because this philosophy needs its honest exception, learn the difference between quitting and killing. Some projects deserve to die, the evidence came in, the premise broke, the goal stopped being yours. Strategic abandonment is a real skill, and finish everything absolutism would chain you to sunk costs forever. But here's the discipline that keeps the exception from devouring the rule. Projects may only be killed in cold blood, never in the valley. Make it procedural, a decision meeting with yourself on paper, 1 week away from the urge, state the evidence, state what changed, decide. The test is brutally simple. Killed projects get autopsies and conclusions. This taught me X, this door is closed, here's why. Quit projects just trail off unexamined into the graveyard. If you can't write the autopsy, if the honest finding is it got hard and something newer glittered, then you have your answer, and it's back into the valley with your tools. You'll know you've matured when your dead projects all have death certificates, and the shameful, trailed-off kind stops accumulating entirely. Now here's the payoff waiting past all this discipline, and it's larger than the finished things themselves. The world you'll discover is startlingly short on finishers. Ideas are everywhere, starters are everywhere. Every field, every team, every community is drowning in enthusiasm and starving for completion. Which means the moment you become someone who reliably closes the loop, who ships, who delivers, who can be handed a thing and trusted to reach done, you become one of the rarest and most quietly valuable kinds of person alive. Opportunity migrates toward finishers the way work migrates toward the reliable, and unlike talent, unlike genius, unlike luck, this rarity is entirely constructible by anyone, starting with a single completed small thing. So here's your move, and make it small on purpose. Not the graveyard's greatest hits. Don't reopen the epic novel this week. Pick the smallest finishable thing in your life, the one evening tidy of that room, the module 3 sitting at 80%, the almost done anything, and this week, take it all the way to done. Verified, shipped, complete. Feel the click. That click, foreign at first, then addictive, is the sound of testimony being entered on the other side of your ledger. I finish things. Then pick up one headstone from the graveyard, just one, the one that still matters, define done, shrink the scope, build the chain, and bring it home. Because the world doesn't remember what you started. It never has. The world is built entirely, every brick of it, out of what somebody finished. Go be somebody who finishes. Starting, and this is the last beginning I'll ever cheer for on its own, with the very next small done.